a cup of heartwarming handmade coffee. A city of people, young and old, working together. People who explore, live, and grow together. But what makes this place special? Being listed year after year as one of the best places to raise a family. Maybe because we have a community recognized for its safe neighborhoods and revered for its low unemployment. A city where adventure is everywhere you look, where you can pioneer your own story. We've opened a new page to write on for the generations ahead. Welcome to Bismarck. Come write your story.
All right, give it up for that video. Welcome to another fabulous edition of 1 Million Cups. My name is Peter, and I'll be your MC today. We have two speakers today, so two for the price of one, which is great. Before I forget, I also want to take a minute and just thank our IT crew. We don't do that enough, but so yeah, give it up for Jaden and Adam today. They're up there. This goes off seamlessly every Wednesday. They have awesome music and tunes playing in the morning for us, so thanks, guys. All right, well, like I said, we have two great speakers today. We're going to talk a little bit, do some housekeeping to begin with, bring some people up for some community announcements, and then we'll get right into our speakers. If you don't have the 1MC app, please download it on your phone. If you do have it downloaded, please check in. Allows us to track who's here in attendance today. Also allows us to track attendance nationwide as well. So please download and check in. Thank you to our sponsors. They're up on the screen here. If you see them around town, if you see them here today, please thank them. They allow us to do what we do here every Wednesday, allow us to have coffee, pay for the space, any upgrades to tech, all that sort of stuff allows us to keep this going. Any newcomers, anybody who has never been to 1 Million Cups, this is your first time? All right, few, perfect. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. Give them a round of applause. Hopefully this is not your last time. Please join us. We're here every Wednesday morning. But what is 1 Million Cups? Essentially, we bring up a local entrepreneur. We hear their story. We get inspired by being in the audience. If we are entrepreneurs ourselves, we get some ideas and best practices, what to do, what not to do, all sorts of stuff. So basically, the name 1 Million Cups comes from how can we change the face of our community by sharing 1 million cups of coffee with one another. All right, remember to use hashtag 1MCND for any questions you have during the presentations today or after the presentations. We will do a Q&A session. So if you're a little bit mic shy and you want to use Twitter instead to ask your question, certainly do that. I think we have Bill on our social media today, so certainly use that hashtag and we'll get those questions answered. All right, with that, we'll bring up anybody who has community announcements. Please come up to the stage.
All right, this isn't a mark your calendar anymore, it's a go out and get a ticket time now for Disrupt Well on Tuesday, September 17th. Disrupt Well is the third annual Disruptive Innovation Summit. So we talk about disruptive innovations, technologies that are impacting us and how we can utilize those here in our community. And if you want to learn a little more, 2 weeks from today, Mike Seminary will be on stage talking about kind of why he created this summit, and it should be very interesting. So go get your ticket. It's awesome.
I don't have a slide, but next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there is the United Tribes Technical Powwow out at United Tribes campus. There's an entry fee, but there's all kinds of vendors. There's dancers. It's a celebration of life. It's a celebration of community. So everyone's invited to attend, to come out. Native, non-native. It's just a whole great time to celebrate life and being alive. So.
Good morning, everyone. September 10th, we're having an event for aspiring entrepreneurs over at the Harvest Event Center in Mandan. It's our Business Startup 101 session, bringing in partners in programs that help entrepreneurs start their business. A panel of entrepreneurs talking about do's and don'ts and all of that stuff, and refreshments and a social afterwards. So 6 to 9, September 10th, over at the Harvest Event Center in Mandan. It's free of charge. We just ask that you register. cityofmandan.com/register. I'll have some flyers in the lobby there for you if you're interested in grabbing one. Thanks.
All right, perfect. Lots of great stuff to get involved with, so definitely do that. Let's get into our speakers today. First up, we have Jeremy Rupp with Spekktrum Media, which is a local digital consulting shop that focuses on results-based digital marketing. Please help me welcome Jeremy.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Right now than ever before in the history of mankind. It's estimated that there's roughly 1,700 new millionaires every single day in the U.S. There's no middleman, there's no big brother, there's nobody holding us back. The internet has truly leveled the playing field. But one very important thing does stand in our way, and that's ourselves, and how we think, and how we speak, and how we take action. Understanding our favorite customer, where they are, what they do, who they like, and what their buying behaviors are is all at our fingertips. Yet many of us are stuck in the past. And that's why we invite you to formally join us on our journey to thriving in the 21st century. All right, well, thank you very much for being here, and thank you to the community of 1 Million Cups. I don't know about you guys, but this is pretty cool. I didn't know about it, say, 6 months back or so, and just a round of applause for this, because this is really, really cool, right? So to jump right in here, because I want to be a rule follower in this moment and actually do what I'm supposed to do, just stay on time. Tyler helped me do that. Okay, sounds good. I'm going to jump right in. So really quickly, I want to ask you guys an honest question, and please, the next question is where it's going to get tough, but how many people have purchased something on their phone this week? Okay, so roughly guessing about half of the people in the room, right? Now, if I say half, does that sound right to you guys as a room to yourself in your head? You're like, yeah, that sounds about right, right? Okay. So here's where the hard part comes. So how many of us that are in business, or whether a leader, an owner, or what have you, are taking advantage of that opportunity, knowing that half of a room of competent human beings are all using that thing to exchange in the world? Are we all committed to making that be a part of our life and our business? This is where we probably all say no, but, right, that's the tough part, right? So we are all aware of, oh my gosh, I bought 1,000 things this week or what have you, right? But none of us are really fully committed to harnessing the power of what's there for us. Do we all agree with that? Okay, yeah. So that gap is really our mission, okay? So that exchange of like, oh my gosh, I want to take advantage of this opportunity is really our deal. So, you know, a lot of companies, what we've learned, because we used to hire them, and you'll see that in a second, they will either focus on, say, just branding as an example, or just exchanging today. What we try to do is marry the two of those and have us be relevant over the long period, right? And also not be a jackwagon. We want to actually be good humans in the process, if at all possible, right? Okay. So who are we? So my name is Jeremy Rupp. My wife here is Emily. She's way better looking and smarter, and she won't do this. So I'm sorry for you guys, but you got what you paid for here, right? So I'm originally from here. I grew up here, went to high school here, so on and so forth, left for college, got a construction management degree after 100 years of being in college, and then finally made it back. My wife, She has a master's as well. She's, like I said, way smarter and way better looking. And then we have 2 boys, 9 and 5. They just started school last week and this week, so that's fun. And what else did I put down here? Oh, that we really like this. This is what gets us up in the morning, which is the business development and stuff, and you'll see that in a second here. So, where what? Oh, up. That's the trick? Oh, that way. I see. Learn every day. Okay, so this is part of how we got here a little bit, but it's part of who we are as well. So we came from the real estate and construction world, but both of our roles were related to basically what we do now for other companies, which is that the business development stuff and all those sort of things. So here's a few things that we accomplished along the way, right? So we got to be on the news, and we were in the Twin Cities at the time, and I was on the front page of the Star Tribune and all this stuff, right? So we weren't just hacks, I guess is the point. Not to brag, but just to say, hey, you actually did something. And like I said, we were in real estate, so I think it's about 500 houses. It's sort of obnoxious at this point, because I say that and I'm like, did that really happen? But it did. So we've owned about 200 ourselves, which were flips, rentals, or wholesales, or all this fun stuff and whatever. So we have, the point of bringing it up is that we have been in the trenches. We've been you. We can relate. We've hired us and Amber and other companies before to try to move our needle. So we've been there and we understand. So those conversations aren't just a pitch, if that makes sense, right? It's more about, I've been there. I learned that time. It only took 8 times. So here's just a few of our clients over time, and most of them are national. So they're pretty big names if you're in the real estate, especially the investment side. A few of them are obnoxiously big in comparison to what our operation was. And that's pretty cool, right? So having the opportunity to do it for ourselves, as well as smaller businesses, which are super fun and amazing. We love that. But some of the bigger ones is where we really get to learn how to innovate and do things that we otherwise basically just couldn't afford, right? So just wanted to share those with you guys. So again, how did we get here? It comes down to that we did this for ourselves, and then we were going to move, and buying and selling houses and having a construction company and all sorts of stuff isn't super easy to do remotely. Plus, we didn't really want to do it remotely. So when we wanted to move, we were like, all right, what can we do in the world to do well, have fun, do the things that we love to do, and make a difference, right? So basically now what we do is we do for others what we used to do for ourselves. Hopefully that makes sense. And then let's get back to this here for a second. So enough about us, because no one really cares, right? The deal is this thing, okay? So I don't know how many of you guys actually have this internal conversation in your mind, but I do all the time, and I encourage others to do this, but how big of a deal is that thing? In every single person's life, literally our 5-year-old, he can crush on a phone. Like, he knows how to do stuff that blows my mind, right? So the point is how big of a deal, if we want to have a business and we want it to do well, and we ignore the fact that there is literally every single age group on earth on that thing, to the extent that we don't even like it, like, should we be there? Is that a statement that rings true? And are we doing something about it? So what do you guys think? Are you guys committed, honestly, with yourself to being on a cell phone with your business? 1. We have 1. So that's good. So I pause and I make it sort of awkward because it's such a big deal. Because this is our number 1 challenge, is getting people to actually realize this. Like, leaving so much money on the table is basically everything to do with this in a whole bunch of different ways, right? It's not the same for everybody. But that's sort of the point, right? So very few people are actually going all in and really understanding their business and reverse engineering what their processes are and how they exchange and do this and whatever and how they want to interact with the community and blah, 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 right? It's all part of potentially right here. So again, point up there. So that's kind of our niche, our specialty, our whatever, is that we've been there, and we're not here to knock on doors and say, buy our widget. That has nothing to do with what we want to do. We want to do stuff like this and have aha moments and empower and educate the community and the world, really, about how big of a deal that stinking thing is that annoys the crap out of us, but we love it so much, right? And it's not necessarily just about now, it's about for a long, sustained period of time. So, again, if anyone has any questions, I forgot to mention that, but I'd way prefer that because going back and forth is way more fun. So here's a few of the things that we do, which is relatively broad, but again, I have to follow some rules, so I'm going to try to do my best here. But it all starts with some strategic planning, right? We have to get an idea of what's going on in the business and who your favorite customer is and blah, 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 blah. And then after that, we have follow-up in way of a CRM and all the other crazy things that can happen there. We have some acquisitions and follow-up with chatbots. We can talk about local influencer marketing and so on and so forth. And again, these are all dependent on you, the business, and what you need and what you want and what you love to do every day. If you're a construction company, but you can't stand X part of the business, you know, that's a thing to talk about, right? Maybe we shouldn't do it at all, or maybe we should triple down on something else that you love to do and you can make money on. All these things play into which one of those answers may or may not be right for you and your business. Does that all make sense to everybody? Instead of just, you got to do paid ads because of X, or you should be on social media because of X. No, this is all based on, it's kind of like having a diet, right? Or going to the gym or doing whatever. If you don't actually enjoy it, it's over. It has a lifespan that is definitely going to end. So it needs to be part of the fabric of what you do every day. More things here are sales funnels. Does anyone know what a sales funnel is? Most people, are there other things? Okay, that's good. So what about local influencer marketing? Is that a thing in your head? We know what that is? Okay, a smaller amount of folks. And then chatbots. Is anyone interested in that? Okay, so some of these hot button things, right, but they don't always fit. They can fit, but they don't always fit. And then good old-fashioned give a bleep here. That is something that we just don't see a lot, right? When we moved back here, we saw it a lot more. Would you say that's fair, babe? Okay. But, you know, when you're in a big metropolitan area, so before that we were in Denver and then in the Twin Cities, and don't get me wrong, lots of amazing, amazing, amazing people, but having a smaller community allowed us to, it was like a breath of fresh air a little bit of that. Maybe it's because it's smaller, like you can't quote unquote get away with it, or I don't know what the philosophy is, but having to actually care is a requirement almost to have a sustainable business, and that's where we're at. So we want to have it be something that we do. So really quickly here, who remembers this place? Who was there when you basically walked in the door because you're pumped up because a movie just came out and you're just let down beyond disrepair that you couldn't get it, right? And then what happened? Gonski and them. Like, think about these companies and then think about this. I don't know if this is true, but is it possible that, because I'm not smarter than anybody, but I like to think about a lot of stuff a lot of the time. Is it possible that they simply went away because they were too stubborn to acknowledge this thing about the phone or whatever it was at their time, right? Is that a thing? Possible. And is it maybe relating to you and your business or us and ours and so on and so forth? So really, that is it. So where will we be in a few years? I say who knows, just to chuckle, because obviously we don't want to be like them. But, you know, more seriously, we're going to take it seriously that we don't want to be like that. So what does that mean tomorrow? We don't know, right? But to some extent, what we do know is that we're not going to, oops, I'm a slow learner, is that we're not going to sit here and say and have any sort of regret or any reason to have regret that we didn't take advantage of the times that we're in, because we're in the times that we're in, right? So we don't want to have those opportunities pass us by. And our most significant challenge, again, is just getting people to realize that that stinking phone is really the keys to the castle. So I think that's it, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, give it up for Jeremy. Thanks, Jeremy. All right, our second speaker today is Amber Kemmis from SmartBug Media. SmartBug Media delivers intelligent inbound marketing for revenue growth. Please help me welcome Amber to the stage.
All right, testing. It works. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. As Peter mentioned, I work for SmartBug Media. Well, I am not an entrepreneur myself. I think we all have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I started with the company. I should probably fast forward at this point. I started with the company. It's been around for about 10 years. I started with the company 6 years ago, and when I started, there were 4 people at the company. Today, there are now over 70 employees. So I had a hand in growing not only just the company, but a team myself, and I've now interviewed, I think, somewhere over 400 people from the comfort of my couch. I don't always work on my couch. Sometimes it's at the coffee shop, too. I actually do not have a marketing background, similar to Jeremy. I was a psychology major at MSU, and my goal was to become the next Sigmund Freud. And then I learned that he's a little bit crazy, and also learned that I started working at a company called the Rainmaker Group, which is literally was right around the corner. And I was introduced to inbound marketing and HubSpot. And for those of you who aren't familiar with inbound marketing, HubSpot, a marketing automation technology company, started the term, I think almost 10 years ago now. They started the term to basically describe marketing in a way that you need to bring customers to your door. And it was at the time when SEO was becoming a big thing, and inbound marketing really at the core of it is educating your customers to the point where they say yes, not trying to sell them on your product. So I was introduced to it right around the corner, and it was kind of love at first sight, and I spent a few years at the Rainmaker Group, ultimately building up their marketing programs, and decided to expand. And when I decided to expand, there weren't a lot of companies locally using HubSpot. I think Rainmaker, and then there's one other company at the time in the whole state of North Dakota using the platform HubSpot. Having some HubSpot chops, it was really important for me to find a company that was going to stand behind the platform and use it. So what I did is I ventured out to look online, and I ended up finding a company called SmartBug. And SmartBug stood out to me for a really important reason, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But before I jump into that, let me tell you a little bit about SmartBug Media. So we're now globally recognized by HubSpot. I told you about the concept inbound, but along the way, the idea of inbound marketing got a little bit finagled. People began to think, well, if you're doing inbound marketing, it's all about blogging, SEO, and ultimately driving search to your site. But the reality is that you do need to use paid media, and you do need to use PR, and you do need to use a lot of the traditional channels to bring customers to your door, because not all customers are finding you through Google search. So what SmartBug has done is taken things a step further and focused on intelligent inbound marketing that is data-driven and ultimately is in place for revenue growth. And we use a lot of different channels to help do that. We're full service, so we do everything from build a client's website to set up their CRM to now educating them on how to better nurture their customers and set up things like chatbots to answer customer requests. So we've been a HubSpot Diamond Partner, which is the top level, for more than 8 years. We were the Global Partner of the Year last year, and HubSpot is right now adding another tier of hub partners, and hopefully that's better than this, and we're hoping to be on that list when it comes out. So what makes us different than a lot of agencies? Oops, little fast on the clicker. I did not learn from Jeremy, apparently. So we don't use interns. We have always thought that it's really important to find someone who has marketing experience. So the minimum number of years of experience that our team has is 5 years. Now that wasn't the case when I was hired, because I did not have 5 years of experience. We believe that it's really important for our team to have client-side marketing experience, because if you don't know what it's like to be in your client's shoes, it's really hard to ultimately deliver campaigns and results that they can relate to. We don't use account managers. So for those of you who aren't familiar with a typical agency, marketing agency model, a lot of times you have an account manager, a strategy team, an implementation team, and all these different teams that ultimately an account manager will coordinate with and bring in the fold. We don't use account managers because our strategists are a lot of times former CMOs, former directors of marketing, VPs of marketing, and we want our clients to work directly with that person, just like they would if that person was in-house and on their own team. We invest a lot in training. Every quarter, our team sets aside a day where we are not allowed to talk to clients. We're not allowed to do any client work. We purely work on certifying and getting better in whatever topic that individual needs. Trusted systems, and I think this is one of the most important things and one thing that I've learned our clients have really appreciated. Before I came to SmartBug, I actually hired agencies just like SmartBug, only on the in-house side. So some of the agencies I hired are now our competitors, and one of the things that really, really ticked me off is when I was delivered a product that was full of flaws. Let's take, for example, a web page. You get a web page and buttons don't work, they don't go where they need to. You load it on your mobile phone and nothing is displaying as it should. That always frustrated me. So for us, and since I've been at SmartBug, it's been extremely important that we have trusted systems that ultimately ensure that the thing we deliver a client at the end of the day is the best it can be, but also that it ultimately, that trusted system ultimately drives revenue. Last but not least is if, in some cases, if you've worked with an agency, your agency will do a lot for you, but they'll not necessarily share what's inside the black box. And for us, it's really important to make sure that our clients understand what's in the black box. We teach them everything that they would need to know to take things over eventually. And ultimately, sometimes it does put us out of a job, but a client walks away happy and successful and very informed. So, and I've personally got to work with some clients where I've seen marketers go from not knowing a thing about HubSpot or inbound marketing to being an expert in it and saying, hey, SmartBug, we don't need you anymore, but we still love you and we'll still send you people your way. All right, so we have, as I mentioned, more than 40 full-time staff. We do use some freelancers because we do work with, basically when HubSpot has an industry or a client that nobody else wants to work with, they send them to SmartBug. There's a couple reasons people don't want to work with them. One, because they're a PIA, but two, because they're an industry that other agencies are afraid to touch. So one of my first clients, actually it was my first client when I came on board to SmartBug, was an electrical enclosure cooling manufacturer. In order to write the content, you had to be an engineer. You could not fake it. Although I tried to read a lot of engineering manuals to figure it out along the way, you couldn't do that. So one thing we do is we do hire freelancers to help fill in the gaps in certain skill areas when needed. We have the client services team, which is my team, is a combination of inbound strategists, CRO, conversion rate optimization strategists, paid media specialists, social strategists, PR, web project managers. We have a full creative team of UX and web designers, but then also writers and editors. And then we have a development team, mostly front-end developers, and because, as I talked about with trusted systems, QA specialists, because QA is really important too. I did mention that we do have, we take out the account manager, but one thing we've learned over time is that the T-shaped marketer or the generalist doesn't always work. So we plug and play different, we still have a strategist, but we plug and play different specialists into our retainers so that clients ultimately have someone who knows paid media really well or knows CRO really well. Here's an example of one of our clients. So Allbound is no longer a client, but they are a partner enablement platform. So if you work with a bunch of partners, they will be the platform that you can plug all your partners into, educate your partners, things like that. We worked with them for several years, and ultimately this is an example of some of the results that we see. It's very common for our clients to walk away with a 300% ROI, 700% ROI for one of our bigger senior living clients. And one of the coolest things about this particular client is that we made the client love us so much that their VP of marketing actually ended up coming to work for SmartBug and became our VP of marketing and sales. So how did SmartBug get started? And going back to that thing that really stood out to me about SmartBug when I got a call from the CEO, Ryan Malone. We are 100% remote. We attract talent from all over the country. I, to date, am the only person in Bismarck, North Dakota. We've had a couple people apply, but otherwise, we're literally scattered. The closest person to me, I think, is in Montana or Minneapolis is the closest. So we were started with a 100% remote model. When the CEO, Ryan, started it, he was at a point where he was about to have his first baby. He had worked for Deloitte and basically been on the road nonstop. And he said, I don't want to do this anymore. So what he did is started an agency that was remote. People called him crazy and said it could never happen. When I started, I was still a little bit apprehensive that it could happen. But here we are about 6 years later, and we are now over 70 employees, and I think over 30 states and a couple provinces as well. So what's next for SmartBug? Those of you who haven't seen this before, this is Scott Brinker's MarTech landscape. This is a 2019 version. There's over 7,000 marketing technologies on it. And when it got started in 2011, there were 100 marketing technologies on it. So for SmartBug, what's next is going beyond HubSpot. We've already started to do that. But what we're finding in trying to expand and tap into more of these marketing technologies, now not all of them are going to stick around because they won't survive, is integrations are really important. Having experts in different platforms is really important. One of them, we've made our first Marketo expert hire this year. But we're going to continue to do that and expand into different platforms. Some of our trusted partners are CallRail, Marketo, Terminus. Maybe have never heard of these, but they're all different marketing technologies that SmartBug has used. And we're continuing to see a big challenge in finding people, which is the last point I have, in finding people that know these platforms, that can do the strategy, but also understand the technology. And technology is so intertwined in your marketing strategies that you have to have people who understand it. So one of the biggest things that I think the community, and I know I'll get asked this again later, that I would love to see is, and I actually asked my CEO, Ryan, he's a good friend too, this question. I said, what would you say the Bismarck Mandan community could do? And he said, find more, give me more Ambers. So it would be awesome if I could one day say that we're building talent here that is not just like me, because I don't think I'm perfect, but it are people who have the work ethic of North Dakotans, who have the accountability of North Dakotans, but also are really, really smart and can fill the gap for companies like SmartBug when it comes to technology. Thank you.
All right, give it up for Amber. All right, we'll actually have you come take a seat. We'll invite Jeremy back up on stage. This is our grilling or our roast portion where we point out your flaws and make fun of you.
We're going to be here a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Now this is our Q&A portion. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We have a mic runner over here, so just raise your hand and we'll get you a mic right away. I can kick us off here. It's always kind of interesting talking to marketing agencies about their own marketing. So it's kind of an inception situation, but how do each of your companies market yourselves and drum up new business for yourselves?
So as I mentioned, our VP of marketing is a former client, and one of the things that she insisted on when she started is that SmartBug's marketing becomes a client just like one of our clients. So our marketing team actually has a retainer as if they were a client. We even, if they try to push their budget beyond what they're scoped a month, we actually charge them fake dollars. But we run it just like we would a client.
Cool. I like that. We do all of the things that, with the exception of Google Ads, that we talk about doing. So it's a mixed bag of everything. So local influencer stuff, social, and a mix of everything. And being small, we admittedly drop the ball, and we will do our clients' work before we'll do ours. So if you see gaps, your work's getting done. But nonetheless, we try to lead by example. So, yeah.
And that was another reason why we started a retainer, because our team contributes content, but we found out that sometimes you put client work first. So we decided, well, if our account team is the client, then you have no excuse.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense. Question in the front.
Okay, so as entrepreneurs, the mic runner and I are married, just so you know, full disclosure. But as entrepreneurs, so we try to do everything ourselves, and we really stink in the space that you two really excel at. So this might be the wrong question. I'm kind of shopping right now. So tell us a little bit about the kind of the pricing structure, if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to guess there's some very curious entrepreneurs in this room as well that go, I stink at this. The first step is to admit I have a problem. Okay, I've done that now publicly in front of all these people. So what would my next steps be with each of you, and a little bit about just how you charge for your services?
Yeah, so we start with an assessment always. We want to know, what are your gaps, what are the opportunities, because we don't want to charge you, we don't want to say, hey, you got to spend $5K when you really only need to. Most of our retainers do start at $7,500 a month, but there are different types of things. Like if paid media makes sense for you, we have retainers that are smaller that only focus on that one thing too.
Ours is very similar. It's very unique. There's there's one combo that are very similar to each other, because they're almost kind of like business partners, but not. Other than that, they are all very, very, very different from each other based on their personality as a human as well as a company. So it is completely all over the place. I know that's not a great answer, but we try to, retention is a big thing. So we tend to leave money on the table in exchange for long-term relationships, I guess, which you probably do too.
Mm-hmm. Often.
Yep.
Question on the right.
For startups, what would you say is the biggest mistake that they can make in the digital marketing world?
Whew.
You go first.
Yikes. Wow, it depends, I think. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if I read a book about it, I could recite something, but I think it really depends on, actually, I just thought of something. It's not doing you. So whatever that is, not fully committing to yourself and listening to some ninja move that you heard over here, but it doesn't like fit you. That's what I would say. I mean, I don't know, but when I try to fake myself, it doesn't work. Even if it's an awesome trick or a tactic or whatever, being genuine to whatever your operation is super big deal. And just working your ass off. Sorry, bleep that out.
Oh, that's live, so it's
Okay,
Yeah.
my bad. Whoopsie. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
I would say, kind of piggybacking off that, you have to understand who you are before you put any money into marketing dollars, but also you have to have your sales system figured out. You have to have a good customer plan for how you're going to handle customers when they come on board and retain them. I've seen so many startups overinvest in the first 6 months only to find out that the leads that they bring to their door are someone that they can't actually move through the funnel because their sales process sucks. Or then when they do get them to become a customer, they lose those customers right away because their customer support systems aren't there or the product isn't there. So I would say marketing sometimes should be one of the last things you invest in.
All right, we got a Twitter question, and it says, this is for Amber, but why is SmartBug in North Dakota? What's the best part of being here, and what's the biggest challenge of being here?
Well, I don't, SmartBug is, we don't technically have a headquarters. It's technically my boss's house in Irvine. But he was looking for talent anywhere. And I just happened to be in Bismarck, North Dakota. And although my job has allowed me to travel, and I could expand and live anywhere in the world, pretty much, I choose to live here because this is a great community to, one, raise a family, but two, also because of things like this that give me a voice and support that I would not get in LA or New York or anywhere else.
I'm going to piggyback off of that. Sorry, Evan, but I'll have you ask your question here in just a second. But Amber, can you talk a little bit more about being a remote worker as part of a company? And then I guess for Jeremy, what does expansion look like for you guys? Have you considered remote workers and contract workers yourselves? So Amber first.
Yeah. So I'm a very social person. So when I first went to work from home, I was panicking about the thought of not seeing people every day. But our company has a great culture. So I was able to quickly fill that void with the socialization from my team and my clients. Being a remote worker takes a ton of discipline. You have to say, I'm going to get these things done and get them done on time. You have to be very smart with your schedule and your time, and be an extreme organizer. And I mean, it's a really silly tip, but if you work from home, have a clean home, because you'll never ever get anything done, and you'll find you're putting laundry in at all times a day.
I was looking at your website. What's Bugapalooza? Is that what it's called?
Bugapalooza. So we actually had Bugapalooza last week in San Diego. It's because we're remote and we don't get a chance to see each other often. Actually, I had my first Bismarck visitor a couple weeks ago, and I was so excited about it. But otherwise, once a year we get together as a company, mostly just get to meet people, talk to people, have fun, but we also spend a day at a work session. Our CEO's wife is an amazing event planner and always makes it somewhere really, really extravagant. So last week we were in San Diego at the Del Mar Fairmont, and it's where LeBron James got married, for context. So it makes me feel like I am a lot wealthier than I am.
And Jeremy, maybe talk about expansion and if you guys have considered remote workers or consulting basis.
Yep. Yes. And to your point, Amber, about talent, it is, you got to be really, really careful, right? So if you care about your customer and you care about all these things that you essentially have to care about in order to retain your client, you have to care about who you bring on board even more. So the answer is yes, but it is a careful walk. I'm not very good at a lot of things. In fact, most things. So replacing myself would be really great in various areas, but it is a careful walk to go down that road. So, and remote would be great. We've tried it in our former businesses several times, and it has gone well, and it has gone horribly terrible. So it's just going to take time. Growing fast sounds cool, but it's not always cool doing it if you don't have the right people involved. So, yeah.
Evan.
As a service provider myself, I know that there's a wide range of clients that you can service. But what would each of you talk a little bit about your ideal client for your particular business?
For us, it's B2B SaaS companies. We're really good at complex buying decisions. So not just when you're selling to an individual, but selling to a group of buyers at an organization. That's probably our sweet spot. But that said, we somehow got lucky 5 years ago and acquired two of the largest senior living companies. So we continue to have a really strong base in healthcare and senior living too.
And for us, it's a complete and total paradox. One side of it's not, which is that we tend to do well with real estate agents, brokerages, teams, that sort of thing, because we came from it, as well as folks in the construction industry. But on the flip side of that, info marketing, because some of the large real estate companies that we mentioned evolved into being an info marketing company. So they've sold education on how to flip houses and do this and hold events, and the monetization of events will blow your mind. But it's sort of a polar opposite of one another, is that one of them is very global, I guess, and info exchange, and one of them's very extremely local. But that seems to be the two areas that we serve best.
Tyler.
Thank you both for being on stage this morning. Awesome job. Question for each of you. First, Jeremy, listening to you talk about this, I really like that you pointed out the strategic planning, the assessment that needs to take place before you can start working with a customer in mobile or digital advertising. Also, that's a process that happens perpetually. How do you make your clients take that shift in their mind of seeing this as a one-time activity, the strategic planning, and then putting a plan together to something we're thinking about constantly? Is that a challenge for you in developing long-term relationships, or?
Great question. I would say that usually if they're an ideal customer, it's not a challenge, and it's just on the calendar, basically. It's just like, all right, well, we need to go over this. And it's a recultivation of what's going on and an evaluation. And I don't know if you guys have read the book. What's that? Traction? Thank you. We use a similar process, I guess, to that. That particular process, it doesn't fit in my personality. It fits my wife's really well. So we have sort of a little variation of our own of whatever that is. So, and then it's, like I said, it's just on the calendar. So we don't have any choice. Discipline, even though it's uncomfortable.
That's one resource we can all take today is retraction. Good.
Yeah, it's good. It's
We
really
use traction too, by
Yeah.
the way, for
Yeah.
business planning.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
So Amber, a question for you. You mentioned T-shaped employee or a T-shaped team marketer.
Yeah.
Can you speak into what that means? What is a T-shaped marketer, and why is that important for SmartBug?
Yeah, it is something that we're constantly rethinking. I think it's good to have T-shaped marketers, especially if you're a startup. I don't know where the term exactly came from, to be honest, but a T-shaped marketer is someone who understands multiple facets of marketing. So you sometimes have people who know PR and communications inside and out, but they don't necessarily know the marketing, automation, and technology side of things. A generalist or a T-shaped marketer knows a little bit of everything about PR, strategic planning, paid media, social media, like web CRO, kind of all the different facets. And it's really important because, especially if you're a startup, I know when I was at Rainmaker, I was a one-woman team, and in order to build a comprehensive, good marketing strategy, you kind of have to know a little bit about everything and jump in and roll up your sleeves in different types of marketing. And it allowed me to do, and I was able to do that there. And now working with our clients, if you're on a conversation with on a call with a client, they have a question about paid media and you can't answer it, you lose value in that minute. But if you can answer those things, they appreciate you a lot more. So it's being able to kind of be quick on your feet in a lot of different things.
Question in the back.
Local influencers. To what extent are you using them in North Dakota?
It depends. It depends on the person and their aspiration. So when it comes down to what I said about personality, if it fits, this is huge. So if you're an Amber and you're very social and that's what you want to do, it can be super powerful. That's how I started in real estate way back, whatever year it was, 2007 or 8 or 6 or something like that, is that I was fortunate to get a real estate license at a place that encouraged me to educate. I got a real estate license after being in construction, just to give you a tiny bit of context. And they encouraged us to be in the community. And I didn't know anything about real estate, but I knew a ton about building houses. So I'd hold classes as a real estate agent on what a house is about, how to build them, how to fix them, how to do this. And so I put myself in the community because it felt good to me. But to answer your question, if that didn't feel good to me, that wouldn't be a good strategy, and how far to take it is just dependent on the person. So I took it really far and ended up speaking in front of 500 people and stuff like that about the things that I enjoyed to talk about. But it's really up to you. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Does that help or no?
Well, no. Are you finding them in North Dakota? And I'm not talking about you, but are you finding people in North Dakota that are considered influencers?
Milo's here. I would consider Milo an influencer.
Tremendously. I wouldn't say that we try to actually find people who want to be, like we're not seeking out people who want to do it. It's more about them seeking out us to help them do it for themselves. Does that make sense?
I think it depends on your industry too. One of the ways we've helped a client leverage local influencers, they were a senior living company, and dementia care was really important for them. So we got a local dementia care expert to come and do a series of Facebook live videos and use that to kind of drive momentum. So I think it depends on what you do and what kind of business you have. There's probably an influencer in our community that has a good social following. Politicians are great ones, so because they usually have that following already. But it really ultimately depends on what kind of business you are.
Twitter is just buzzing with the hashtags. We got another one.
Yeah, so we got another one for Amber, but how did SmartBug find you if you did not have a background in marketing?
I want to know that one too.
Well, so to be fair, like my life has kind of been one stumble into one career after another. I was working first for Warford Orthodontics, and Chris Young at Rainmaker found me there and said, I think you should come work for me, run my social campaigns. And I'm like, I don't know marketing. Why would you ask me to do that? But I did because it seemed like a good opportunity, and he was flexible, and I was going to school. But that's where I stumbled into marketing. It was actually at the Rainmaker Group. SmartBug, I found them because they were a HubSpot partner, and I was kind of a little bit surprised when the CEO called me the next day because I didn't have a really long tenor in the marketing world, but he, after a couple conversations, realized that I did know what I was talking about and learned a lot in my short time at Rainmaker.
All right, well, we have time for, I think, one more question. Amber didn't follow the rules and already answered this one, but we'll ask it to her again. But Evan, would you do the honors, please?
I would. Thank you guys for both being here this morning. Very interesting and different stories. Love them both. Our last question we always ask is, what can the Bismarck Mandan Million Cups community do to support each of you in your missions?
So I already answered this, but I'll reiterate that it's more of a personal mission, but I would love to go, hire a band of marketers locally, one, so that I can have co-work days just like all my coworkers in Denver and LA and everywhere else. But also because I know there's really talented, smart people in this community. And so I think the biggest thing is help our community not just learn marketing, but learn marketing from a technology standpoint and give them the opportunities to do that, and ultimately send them my way.
That's good. I would say it's just to think to yourself how big of a deal and how big of an opportunity there is for every single business out there, because there's literally 10-year-old kids that are making $100,000 a year. And if that is a thing, what are potentially someone leaving on the table here, right? So just focusing on that today is today, and marketing yourself or doing business in 2005 or 1980 or whatever doesn't really serve us to sort of do it. Good one. So do it now, right? Like, have your business operate in today is really, and think about the future as well. So I think that would be really powerful for everybody.
Awesome. Well, let's give Amber and Jeremy
Rank.
another round of applause. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for being here as well. Hope to see you next Wednesday. We have another great presenter, and it is Homeland Hempcrete, providing healthy and sustainable building solutions in Bisman. So don't miss that, and have a good rest of your Wednesday.